Real estate is a people business. We're in the business of building up other people. We're not in the business of selling property, crazily enough. Hello and welcome everyone to another private access podcast brought to you by Aperture. And today, you little podcastees, you little fellow listeners, we have the fantastic Suzanne Schreiner. Absolutely brilliant agent, based in Montana, average sale price about 2.5 million. This is going to be a journey through real estate in ways no one else has ever seen it before. So welcome, Suzanne. Lovely to have you, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for having me. I really look forward to speaking with you about my real estate journey and how I can assist other people to be interested and continue to be interested in real estate.
It was interesting. Are you okay with my accent? You can. I know you're in the middle of nowhere, mountains. Do you hear people from London a lot?
We do actually. More so since COVID. We've had a lot of international people hit Big Sky, Montana. We're a destination ski resort, one of the best in the world. So we do have a lot of folks joining us from all over.
Do they rock up on their horses?
I'm sorry?
Do they ride horses? Are they like they take horses everywhere? Because you're in Montana,
well,
right?
They try, yes. And we are in Montana, and I would say some of those Europeans are the best skiers I've seen. So
the skiers.
The skiers. We won't talk about the horses.
Okay.
But the skiers, yes.
So, because the closest we know about, Montana is probably Yellowstone, the TV series. Is that so? Are you like that? Is that like, is that cut forward to you? You're a little bit like that?
A little bit like that. I would say maybe not that dangerous, maybe not all those guns and shots and wounds, but, pretty close. Pretty close. It's still the Wild West. I mean, when I moved there 35 years ago, you could have an open container in your car. There was no speed limit, and you could have a loaded gun.
You could. There was the thing I'm interested in, is because we don't have. Is the speed. We don't have. No, there is. The only guns we see is if the police have them, and they don't carry. So they have to call in a special squad that turns up with the guns. So, they don't carry, there's no carrying openly. And I remember the first time I went to Vegas, right? And I was in Vegas going into a normal restaurant, and there was a sign up saying, please declare your guns. And I was like, what the hell is this? What? Someone's walked in with a gun. If you do that in London, it would be like, full out panic. Tell me about the non-speeding fines. Right.
Well, I have been pulled over once for speeding, and it was reasonable and prudent for your vehicle was the speed limit 35 years ago in Montana. And I was driving a Jeep, and I was late departure to a wedding, and he pulled me over, and I said I was reasonable and prudent for my Jeep. And he said, yes, here's your $5 ticket. You want to pay me now or drive it down to the police station? I said, here's your $5. And away I went to the wedding.
$5?
$5. Yes.
And no other issues, just $5. Get on your way.
Yep. Get on your way. And had you been driving the speed limit, which there was no speed limit, I wouldn't have had to pull you over, and you would have made it to the wedding a few minutes earlier.
Wow. Well, look, that's the things that we learn, right? And still comes out.
Right.
And the things that we hear about. So let me tell you a bit about, let me hear a bit from you, Suzanne. So we know you are a real estate legend. You are one of them mountains that surround you that you can look at, and you have been doing this for a solid 20 years, so as a young child, right, you got into the industry.
Yes.
And we've very much like, with laws and speeding fines and gun fines, you've probably seen a lot, Suzanne, right? You've probably witnessed a lot. So let's wind it back, right? So there's young Suzanne, 15, 16 years old. Was your ambition to be a real estate agent?
Hell no. I was not going to be a real estate agent, and I kind of fell into it accidentally. I was having the best round of golf of my career, which isn't saying much. Pickleball, I can play. Golf, not so well.
Just
And
one. Sorry to stop you. This is 15 or 16 playing golf, right?
no.
Right. So
15 and 16, 15 and 16 years of age, I never thought I would be in real estate ever in my life.
what was you planning on doing?
I was planning on going to law school, actually.
Oh, you wanted to be one of them high flying lawyers.
That's right. That's what I wanted to do.
Right. Well, that's kind of the same, right? Because how there's so many similarities with what we do in law, and we're always bumping into it. So please, pray, continue, Suzanne.
Okay. So I went off to college, graduated from college in Minnesota, and I moved to Big Sky, Montana, where my family had visited ski trips every year. And I decided to move there for 3 months, and I was debating law school or graduate school. And I decided it was law school I was going to do. Well, 3 months turned into 36 years later. I never left, and I never went to law school. And here I am as a real estate broker in Big Sky, Montana.
So what was that to do about the golf, the best round of golf you was having in your life? So how old was you then?
Well, let's see. That was about 20 years ago. So that would make me
We haven't got a
35, 36.
yeah, for the audio, Stanley, that's 26. So you
Yes.
and you're another one of these people that find increasing enjoyment in whacking the hell out of a ball and trying to get it going in a hole half a mile away, which is like, to me, that's the epitome of boredom. And I think it was Sir Winston Churchill that once said, the thing about golf is it's the perfect way to ruin a good walk. So was it during that round? It is a round of golf, right? You
It
have
was
you
around
have
to go.
you have and it was that where you fell into real estate because of that golf, because of that round of golf.
I was golfing with a very high producer in Big Sky, Montana, who happens to be related to me. And she had been after me for years to get into real estate. And my answer was no, absolutely not. I'm not going to do it. No. We have more realtors in our small community than we get inches of snow per year. And we get 400 inches of snow per year. In our small town at the time was 1,500 people year round. And we had more
Wow.
realtors than inches of snow. So tells you everybody was a realtor, right? And
Yeah.
I was not going to do it. And in the middle of my backswing, best round of golf, she asked me again, would you please come be on my dedicated team at the private club? And my game went to hell in a handcart. I was done. I couldn't play any more holes. I was done. I couldn't hit the ball straight. It was over for me because I started thinking about it seriously.
Yeah.
And my kids were young, and I wanted to raise my kids, and I wanted to be the basketball coach for my kids, and I wanted to be at every ski race, and I wanted to be at every wrestling match, and I wanted to be. I was a mom, right? And I knew that with
Uh-huh.
real estate, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of you having to miss those opportunities with your children. And so I decided I would do it under my terms. And, most times it worked out. I think I had one client who said, you know what, that isn't going to work for me. I want to meet right now. And you know what, we probably wouldn't have been a good fit anyway. So for
Uh,
for all those buyers and sellers, understand that I work with, understand the importance of being a parent. And that was why I was digging my heels on and getting into real estate. But when I set my own terms and I set my own boundaries, it worked. So very
I
well, it worked.
I think that is so admirable because so many people are in the yes sir, no sir generation, and they fall into a situation of being so subservient to the people that they're dealing with. They're not dealing with them, they're dealing for them. And that means they're not advising them, they're not helping them on their journey, they're just yesing to them because they're desperate to get the listing instruction. They're desperate to get a deal put together at whatever costs, even if that means the deal isn't that great. And I think you have shown there why, it's really good for someone to turn around and really say, just maybe no. This is my plan. This is my route. This is what I'm doing. I'm not going to let anyone get in the way of that. And that's probably made your path clearer and definitely cleaner. You said, you went to every wrestling match, and I know you was involved a lot with your daughter in skiing. She
Yep.
she was doing that falling downhill in a straight line sort of thing all the time, right? And she was very good at it. But so that brought you into it. So if that brought you into real estate, what was the first standout deal? So what was the first time where you was on your own, you know, you was either at a listing appointment that because they're both in my head, they're both deals. You list it, that's a deal, and then obviously you got to sell it, but the deal, it's done. Or you was at a viewing and it just went atrociously wrong. Did that happen to you?
Atrociously long. Well, no, but I'm going to tell you about my first showing. How about that?
Let's do
I
that.
had because I worked at a private club. So a lot of these people are vetted before they can come stay in the club and um, before they arrive, that they're qualified to purchase there, right? And it was a lovely couple and they had kids, our kids' ages, and they walked in and they had blue jeans on and hoodie sweatshirts, all four of them. And I thought to myself, this is going nowhere. How did they get pre-qualified to come through the door? Now I look back and say, don't ever judge a book by its cover, right?
No way. No way, yeah.
And sure enough, and when we were in the private club working, selling real estate in the private club, you're dining with them, you're taking them skiing, you're taking them golfing, you are showing them the full experience of the private club and why it makes sense for them to be a member. And so I went through all the hoops, did everything. And these people are some of our dearest friends today. They just asked us to go on their boat in the Caribbean last month. They ended up buying. They bought a piece of property. It was a $2 million piece of property on 1 acre. It was a golf in, ski out property. So you could golf right in and you could ski right out.
Right,
And
okay.
and they built their home and they have continued to be great friends of ours. And the property, so they built this lovely home and the property adjacent to them in 2008, 2009, 11, something like that, came on the market and it was a foreclosure. And so I called them and I said, hey guys, the lot next door to you is coming on the market. I think this is a great opportunity. I know how close knit your family is, and this would be a great lot to purchase for privacy, but also for when your kids get older, if they want to build a home there. And they said, well, how are we going to go about this? And I said, well, you have to go to the courthouse over in Virginia City, Montana. And if you know anything about Montana, Virginia City is up and over the hill and through the woods and not an easy place to get to. And they said, will you go to the courthouse and buy this piece of property for us? Will you represent us? I said, absolutely. So he sent me over there with a blank check. And
as you do.
as you do. And it was, I believe it was the day after Christmas. And it was one of the worst snowstorms that you can imagine. I took my mother with me. She was all of 75 at the time, I believe.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we went through this blizzard, the roads, you can see the roads, you can see the sides of the roads. And she said, you're doing this for a client? And I said, I sure am. And we marched up those courthouse steps and purchased the piece of property next door to them. And they still own that property today.
That is fantastic. And I love the fact that when we talk about being an advisor and the conversations that we're having, and we all have Aperture, it all comes down to our backgrounds and what's made us what we are. And one of the things that is pretty clear, like you just said, you wanted to do these things with the kids. That's why you wanted to get involved into it. But also, you can smell a deal. And you can not only smell a deal, you can actually create a situation where the buyer in this case is elevated via position by you. So you said, you should have this next door. They probably might not have been even thinking about that, and I don't think they were. So you orchestrated all that, and then you had, I'll say it, you had the balls day after Christmas Day, out in a blizzard with your mum, but you knew you had to also see it through because it's no good coming up with the idea and letting someone else do it. You organized everything yourself and made sure you put yourself in a position that elevated your client and elevated you and that your friends forever because of that and because of the viewing that you did with them in the beginning. And isn't that fantastic? And I just want to applaud you for, walking through the snow. I'm sure you wasn't walking. You was probably like sitting in one of them fantastic Jeeps that that you have a little step to get into to sit on the seat, right? That looks like a truck.
Right. I graduated from the Jeep. I think I was in a Yukon.
Look at you, yeah. So you was getting around, and I think that's one of the things when we talk about Aperture, that when we're selecting people to come to Aperture, is getting the right people. So they are from that stable. They do understand that, there's times where you can say to the client, we're doing this today. I've got something over there today. There's times when you can just walk into them, day before Christmas and say, look, this lot's coming available. This is serious. I've put down my eggnog and I'm telling you that you should close at this. You gave them the reason why. So you said, you might want to expand or for your daughter or sons, so you hooked them in there nicely in the nicest possible way, but you gave them an emotional reason to move forward. And that's why they handed you the blank check. And so at that point, you was the perfect advisor. And that's what we're doing at Aperture. We're selecting perfect advisors to be able to join our journey, as I know you do. So you did that first viewing, it ended up being like that, and that was fantastic. What's one of the landmark sales that you've ever done? So is there any is there many celebrities in Montana that you've bumped into? Is it Billy Joel, the singer, or someone like that?
Well, I have to respect their privacy, but yes, we have very, very many celebrities in Montana, in Big Sky specifically. And they come to Big Sky, Montana, and they come to Montana because they can come and feel safe and nobody hounds them. They'll walk into the Conoco station just like anybody else, pay for their own gas, buy a 6-pack of beer, and go on their way. And nobody cares who they are because that's how we are in Montana, right? And, I think you asked about a property that stands out in my mind. And, I listed this $15 million home for a client that I've done. Oh, I believe we've done about 11, 12, 13 transactions together. In fact, they just invited us to Italy in October with them.
So you don't have to go on holiday. Your clients are inviting you to the Caribbean. They're inviting you to Italy. And let's be fair, Suzanne, it's only May. There's so
right.
many more places they could invite. And I love. Yeah, I've got to pick up on this now. I love the fact you lot say the word right when you're talking about something to make a point. You're like, right? Yeah, right, right.
Right. You
Right.
understand that? That's crazy, isn't it?
Like, isn't
But
it just?
yeah, but this happened this summer. Actually, I listed his home for sale because he's building another one. He's building a true and ski out home. I sold him a piece of property 3 summers ago that had a beautiful home on it, 20 acres, and he wasn't too sure. He always wanted to be in a specific neighborhood that was ski out, and never in the last 10 years these lots were just not becoming available. They're just people were holding on to them. So I sold them this $13 million home, and they went in and did a remodel. And a week after they closed on it, I called him and said, "You're never going to believe it. A lot in that neighborhood just hit the market. And I am so sorry to be calling you and telling you this after you just closed on this home." He said, "Let's write an offer."
Wow.
So he did the remodel on the home that he purchased. He sat on the lot that he purchased right after he bought this $13 million home. And he worked through all the architect through all the plans, got the perfect house designed. And he said to me this summer, "Let's put this house on the market because I'm going to start building over here." So we listed the home for $15 million. I got a phone call. I was actually in Florida, sitting in a parking lot, waiting for my husband to come out of the store. And I said, "This might be a while. Go ahead, go in." So I was in the parking lot, and he was from Florida. And I said, "Well, you're never going to believe it, but I'm in Florida right now." And so we chatted for a while. He said he wanted to look at this home. I said, "I'll be home in a couple of days. Does that work with your schedule?" It sure does. We met, wrote an offer on the house. He purchased the home for $15 million. My seller was happy. My buyer was happy. And now my seller is, a good friend of ours as well, right? That's just how it happens in Big Sky, because you're always going to run into him time and time again. You build relationships and you do multiple deals with them, right? And I was down in Florida a couple months ago, driving down this road, and I said, "Wow, these are some beautiful homes here." And I said, "Holy cow, this is where my buyer for that home told me he lives, on this road in Naples." And I pinged him with a text and said, "You're never going to believe it. I'm on the same road that you have your third home in Naples, Florida." And he said, "No shit. Turn around. I'm here. Come see me." We spun the truck around, pulled our big Montana truck into his driveway, and spent the next couple hours with he and his wife visiting. So in Montana is a little bit different than other places in the world because, as I said, we run into our clients time and time and time and time again. We're not selling them that home and never going to see them again. And so it's very important to have those relationships, continue those relationships, and be the trusted advisor that Aperture Global is looking to hire, because they're going to hire you time and time and time again.
And you've also you've moved it on. So you start off by being they're your client and you're dealing with them, but also you move that friend zone forward relatively quickly. And not everyone can actually do that. Not everyone understands it and they get it. We started off talking about being subservient and being yes sir, no sir, and being in a situation that's a little bit awkward for most people. They want it out. You got into real estate. You got into it relatively young, okay? And
Thank you.
you sold that first house and that person became your friend. And now this buyer in Florida that bought the 15 million pound house in Montana is screaming at you, "Turn around, come in, I'm in." I was thinking that she's going away on another holiday. It's like, well, what's going on? Does Suzanne pay for any flights? She's just going anyway. I mean, apart from your poor mum who only gets dragged out when it's in 4 foot of snow, day after Christmas. It's like, gonna sit down and watch a movie. It's Boxing Day. That's the day after Christmas over here. You're like, "No, I'm gonna take you out to freeze, and you're gonna enjoy it, and I'm doing it for money." Right?
That's right.
When you talk about your clients, and I know that in the States, well, I don't know, I'm going to ask you, what are the fees? So, as an agent in the States, in Montana, what fees do you charge?
Well, March changed that new law that the sellers are only responsible for paying for the selling agent, and the buyer is responsible to pay the buyer's agent. We're in a unique situation in a destination ski resort where we have not really followed that law. We follow it, but our sellers want us to work for them, and they want to attract buyer's agents to show their home So most of them are still paying both sides, the buyer side and the seller side of the transaction. It's very rare that we come across somebody who's digging their heels in.
Wow. So that's the seller will pay for both sides of the transaction.
Correct.
And how much is that on each side? What's the percentage on each side, roughly?
Typically 3% on the seller side and 3% on the buyer side.
Okay, he chokes on his dinner. So that's a 6% fee. Yeah. If
Correct.
if if you're not with Aperture and you're not part of our UK guys and girls that have been through our amazing training and ongoing training that we put in, the average fee in the UK is 1 to 1.5% flat. And
Do
we
you want to
don't
come work for me in Montana?
I would love to. I'm not going out there if it's cold. It's you're in the mud season at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, we are. The snow is
We
melting, but we had snow just a couple days ago as well. So it's the season where it could snow 6 inches and the next day it could be 75.
So while you're traveling around and you're getting invited, to fly in Learjets globally at everyone else's expense, do you look at the properties? So have you ever had someone say, Suzanne, we love you to bits. You're a fantastic broker. We've got something in Italy that we want sold. We've got something in the Caribbean. How do you handle that situation?
Wow, that is a great question, especially after I've joined Aperture Global, because now I actually have referral sources across the country that I can reach out to one of my coworkers, my amazing Aperture coworkers, and refer them and know that they are going to be in good hands. No, we have Aperture Global meetings biweekly, just like I'm having a conversation with you right here. I never experienced that in the first 19 years of my real estate career. And so we have a lot of people that we can refer our deals out to and know that they're going to be handled with kid gloves and taken care of, and even involve me in the transaction if the client, wants me to be involved. I would love to refer somebody to you, Daniel.
I'm waiting for a referral right now, and I think the brilliant thing about what we do and being part of this network we have, this community, is the fact that with confidence now we can refer and we can talk to people and we know them people. I've had dinner with you and we've had a laugh together, and I think that's so important. That's so much more than just being on a conference. The personal touch that we have shows and shines on when we're doing it. And I suppose the question I have, he says, trying to do his hair and realizing he's got headphones on. So the question I have for you is, would you have then, if you was in Italy and this person said, "Come look at my amazing villa, I want you to deal with it," would you have said, "Look, I can't. I'm not going to give you the best service." Before Aperture, you would have said, "Look, am I going to deliver the best service for that person?" Is that how you would have thought?
Absolutely. 100%. I'm a firm believer. We have markets an hour drive from us, and I believe you need to be an expert in your market. You can't be an expert in every single town in Montana, right? But there are people that you can lean on who are experts, let's say in Bozeman, Montana, let's say in West Yellowstone, Billings, Montana. And Montana's a big state, right? And so a lot of people call Big Sky Montana Big Sky because of the big sky. That's what it's known for. So when they call in, they might think that they're calling somebody in Butte, Montana, but they're getting me in Big Sky, Montana. And I don't know Butte, but I can certainly refer them, just like I can refer somebody to you in London. And in my past 19 years of that, we didn't have that opportunity. And now we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with everything, and that's certainly the reason I joined was the connectivity. And the case, it isn't just, we're all connected, we're doing this. We are emotionally invested in what we're doing because we love real estate. We're emotionally invested with our clients. So the last thing we want to do is that trust that's been built, whether it's been over 6 months or 6 years. we don't want that going out of the door because we refer it to someone that we've just found on LinkedIn or, that we've never really spoken to. And the advisor in us does the right thing. And the advisor turns around and says, we can't assist at this moment. And you can do that, right, Suzanne? You can,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. I'm not in that. I can walk around, I can have a look, but I wouldn't want to engage with someone else, that can ruin our relationship. Now we don't have to do that. Now we can refer it. Now we are part of that network. And now we can do it emotionally with intent and know that the journey that's going on is going to be the correct journey, the right journey, and one that leads to a result. And that was the main reason that I really wanted to get involved. So you're going along, you're selling all your houses, you're an absolute animal at it. Every now and then you play a round of golf. Every now and then you pick up a gun and shoot some cans off of a wall or something. Is that Montana, right? Have you got
Montana.
horses? Have you got
I do.
horses?
Our son has horses. I do not have horses.
But hold on, right? That's still amazing. Okay, what we have in London is a load of hoodies on mini motorbikes running around nicking everyone's phone. So you actually have horses, right? The closest we get to horses is seeing them miles away on a field when we're on the motorway. We have a big motorway goes around London called the M25. Compared to your motorway, ours is probably big. I mean, we get 3 lanes of traffic on each side, 3 lanes going clockwise, 3 lanes going anti-clockwise. I don't know if you have motorways in Montana. It's probably not needed, right?
Well, it's not really needed. In fact, we have one way into Big Sky and we have one way out of Big Sky. And so, if there was ever an emergency, we would have to figure out how everybody's getting out. But so far, so good. And it is a one way in and one way out community.
What happens if you're ever driving along that one way in or one way out and there's a bear in the road?
We stop and let the bear pass.
No shit, you stop and let the bear pass. I mean, what, you're not going to offer him a cigar, are you?
No. You should be asking me what we do when we come across a bear when we're hiking.
Oh, okay. Hold on a minute, Suzanne. What happens when you come across a bear when you're hiking?
Well, you make a lot of noise because the black bears are scared of you. The grizzlies want to eat you. And so you always make a lot of noise when you're hiking in the woods. And we carry bear spray.
Bear spray.
Bear spray. And usually most of us are carrying a Glock.
Hold on. I want to wind back.
A loaded gun.
So this vicious grizzly bear that wants to eat you, your response is to spray hairspray at him.
Bear spray.
Same thing. Hairspray, bear spray. Have you
Bear spray is a pepper. Bear spray is a pepper spray.
A pepper spray.
A pepper spray that will detract the bear, hopefully. Yes.
Because as I've traveled around the world, I've had, quite a few women and men with hairspray on, and that's made me walk away from them, because it's kind of woo, So we're digressing, talking about bears. I mean, last time I see a bear was never. We don't have bears. We don't have crocodiles. I was speaking to Katie the other day, and she said there was a crocodile in my yard. That she can't.
Oh my goodness.
She doesn't talk like that, but no, and she just pulls it out of the way. Right? It's like this is normal. This is a completely different understanding of the world. And the reason that I bring that up and I'm trying to make a joke about it is important that as we move around the world and selling global property, referring global property, we're aware of some of the stuff. We've got 5% of the information down, so we can talk about it, we can be aware of it. And being aware of situations like bear spray, I never knew that. If I come up against the bear, I'm going to do one thing, which is freeze and scream, and then he'll probably eat me. And then he'll probably find out he doesn't like the taste because I'm not a Montana person. They probably taste different, don't they? People from London to Montana. Everyone in Montana probably thinks everyone over here smells of fog and and the rain, right? Because it's always rain. Do you have tube stations? Do you have like metro, or is you just drive everywhere?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
No,
Cut.
leave it in. Do you have this is I think uh Suzanne, you're having problems with my accent.
I'm having problems with your accent. What did you ask me if we had?
Well, it doesn't. I was saying, do you have the tube? So, like like in New York, you got the metro. Have you got anything like that in Montana?
No. We have a horse and a buggy.
A
That's it.
horse. So everyone drives. Everyone
Everybody
drives.
drives. Yes,
Okay.
everybody drives.
So as you went through your journey into real estate, and then there comes an important moment, doesn't there, when we find out, and we found out because I've spoken to her and spoken to you, that your daughter um, is going to come and join forces with you. Was
Yes.
that a special moment for you?
It was really special. She was a big ski racer and she wanted to ski in college and she concussed out of ski racing and she was still on schedule to graduate a semester early from high school. In the state of Montana, you have to be 18 and you have to have a high school graduation to get your or high school diploma to get your real estate license. She turned 18 on New Year's Eve and she graduated from high school first week in December, second week in December. So she was one of the youngest kids in the state of Montana to be able to get her real estate license. She never knew if she was going to do anything with it, but I told her she wasn't going to sit around and do nothing for the second semester. And she went off to a 4-year school. She graduated, and I said, "Now what?" And she said, "I think I'm going to do real estate." Pleased as punched. I am, right? Because that's
Yeah.
a great honor that she would want to do something that I've done for the last 20 years. She also saw me do it with a balance, and she saw me do it and coach her basketball teams and be at all of her ski races and be there for everybody. And so I said, maybe you're doing it opposite of what I'm doing. Maybe you're going to work for 10 years and you can be done, and then you can have your babies and your family, right? And
Wow.
she said, "Well, that's an interesting way to look at it." And I said, "Well, if you go all in and you are the expert, you may be young, but a lot of people are going to like to hear it that you were born and raised here." I get asked a
Yeah.
lot in Montana, in Big Sky, "Are you a local?" And I say, "I'm not a local. I've lived here 36 years, but my kids are locals. They were born and raised here."
Yeah.
And there aren't too many kids who come back to Big Sky, Montana after they leave. And so to have the knowledge and know every piece of dirt in Big Sky and everywhere that these kids would go hide in somebody's neighborhood and have their bonfires in high school, every ski run that they've skied, every peak that they've hiked is pretty special. So I think she'll do pretty well. I think she's enjoying it so far. She, definitely is getting her big toe wet. I've told her, "You're a little bit different than I am. I could pick and choose. You're young and new in the field. You have to adjust your schedules for people right now. When you have a family and kids, you can change that a bit."
And as with everyone, so as with working, living with, being with a lot of the time constantly, do the pair of you ever end up having, as we would say in the UK, amazing rows? So where you just fight. Would you argue over the valuation of a property? Would you argue over the viewing, how it went? Is there any ever point where you fight, or have you got a situation where you're like, right, this is going to be our reset button should that ever happen?
Yeah, we disagree, but as I do with my husband, I disagree, right?
Yeah,
And that makes
right.
that makes that makes for good conversation, right? If everybody agrees and gets along, you're probably not really getting to the point. And so there are times that I would say 98% of the time, we do not argue, we do not fight. 2% of the times I might have to say, I don't like the way you're talking to me right now, and I'm going to hang up the phone. Goodbye.
So
Give her a few minutes. Give her a few minutes, and then she'll call back.
that's a well. Actually, when we listen to the Maisie podcast back, you'll hear her answer. So but it's interesting to be doing that. So we're sitting here, right, and Robert Palmer has come up with the idea of Aperture and worked out a way to piece this all together. So there's a perfect moving part with LPT and Aperture and a perfect crossover in a situation that is relatively unseen globally. So it's something that is being digested and built at the same time. When you found out about Aperture, and we know about the network and the reasons to join that with the referral, but why did you join?
Well, I first met Robert and Michael in Naples, Florida. I happened to be vacationing there, and they wanted to meet with Martha Johnson and myself, and we went to lunch. And I walked out of that meeting with them, and I thought that was the most refreshing work meeting that I've had in 20 years. These people believe in us. These people want to help us. These people are not going to ask what I'm doing at 2:30 in the afternoon. They're going to know that I'm going to do what I need to do to get to my goals. And that to me was very refreshing from the other company that I had just come from. And it almost seemed too good to be true. We walked away and we said, can somebody really talk to you that nicely? Can somebody really want you to join their team? And can somebody really be that excited about your growth? And that's why we took the leap of faith and joined.
That's yeah. So again, if we're going back to you in the beginning, with that person, the client that you said, no, I'm going to do this with my son instead. I can't deal with that at the moment. To setting boundaries, became a super successful agent. From your first viewing, straight away that person became your friend that has then offered you their boat in the Caribbean, and then they bought somewhere else, and you manufactured that whole sail, over, the winter period, even dragging your mum along in the freezing cold to fight bears for you on the way with bear spray, and making sure that no one was going to hurt you because she's the mum and she wanted to protect, to getting in the courthouse, to closing that all down. That got to the situation where you're sitting in front of Michael and Robert, and for the first time you felt refreshed about real estate. 20 years or so, 19 years, whatever it is, that was the most refreshing conversation that you had. That's a bit of a special moment, and a bit of kind of like a clock, something clicked, something went off. So now you're in Aperture, and you've got Maisie with you as well, and you're running around doing incredible business. What would you say the greatest, biggest business lesson that you've got? What is the biggest lesson that you could impart if anyone is listening out there that wants to get into real estate, which we hope a few are, or they're already in real estate and maybe they're struggling, they want to sell higher end real estate. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that you have to be yourself. You have to be honest. You have to be truthful. It all sounds great that I had those two fabulous clients. I have a lot more fabulous clients as well. I had a client that I did 23 transactions for. 23.
Wow.
And
that's a relationship.
That was a relationship. That was a long relationship.
That wasn't your husband, was it?
That was not my husband.
Does he know? Does he know that you've?
That's only 29 years. This was only 23 transactions. And I will say, there comes a time and a place when it can't be about the money. And it can't be about the next penny, the next dollar, the next million. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to continue to be the person that you are. When your values, when your morals, when your ethics, you feel that are being thrown on the line in a very small town that you have worked 20 years for to be respected and to have high-end clients coming to you as advisors. If you ever get yourself into a situation, you need to know when to say when. And you need to know when your relationship with this person is not, he's not respecting you. It's not about the money. It's about being who you are and living up to your morals, your values, your ethics. And I can't say that enough, because when you compromise who you are for a client, it's never going to work and it's not going to be fun. And needless to say, after 23 transactions, and I'm talking hundreds and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, right? I cut a relationship off. I said, I can't do it. I don't agree in how you're treating this buyer. I don't agree on what you said was going to happen, and now you're trying to back out of it. And that's not who I am, and that's not how I work. And I think it's time that we part ways and you find another real estate agent. That was hard. That was hard, but guess
After
what?
that many transactions, that's hard.
That was hard, yes. And we had a friendship as well, but it just came down to jeopardizing who I was. And as a real estate broker, I worked hard for that reputation, and I'm going to keep it.
I'd applaud you. We should, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
everyone listening to that is clapping at this point and cheering, because that's sort of how you've laid your stall out from day one. When you
Correct.
said in the beginning, you want to be able to go with your kids to the stuff that they do, to be there, in the football and the soccer, whatever it is that you guys over there, right?
Yeah.
In between teaching them how to hopefully dodge bears and grizzly, and knowing the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear. I mean, I don't know how to tell the difference. It's a bear, it's got teeth, I'm running, right? That's the advice I would give you. And living through all that, and you experience it, in such a perfect way, Suzanne. And you've delivered such a delicate journey there. It's been really pleasure to listen to it. So I'd kind of move towards wrapping up, but I'd love to ask you, your 19, 18-year-old, 17-year-old, younger you, you're looking back at her now and you can speak to her briefly. What words of advice would you give to her, to yourself back then, that you wish you had heard from your future you? Trying not to confuse the future and everything going on. The future you, giving that back. What would you say? Over to you.
Yeah, I think, I would say the same thing my parents said to me. You can do whatever you want to do, but don't jeopardize who you are for it.
Yeah.
And, you've got to live by your morals and your values and your ethics. And if you want to do whatever you want to do, you're capable of doing it. Go for it. You can do it. And I would tell any young realtor, if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's not easy.
Yeah,
it's not easy. But if it's what you want and you put your heart and soul into it and 100%, you can do it.
So who's the best golfer, you or Maisie?
That's a great question. Today, I would say she is.
Right. Okay. So she wins that. But none of you have been eaten by a bear, so you're all winning that, right? You're all able to get on with that. Okay. Love to come over to
We're all
Montana.
Good. You and everybody listening to this podcast, please come visit Montana. It is as great as it seems.
And it truly is. And so, you lovely listeners, we're gonna wrap that up with that. And so thanks again to Suzanne. Suzanne, what have you got, like Instagram, LinkedIn? Is there any handle you want to share with us?
Yes, Instagram is Suzanne Schreiner Real Estate.
So everyone's got that Suzanne Schreiner Real Estate. Reach out, even if you just want to have a conversation with Suzanne, if she's got time, if this has motivated you in any way. The one thing I have learned in the time that I've shared with Suzanne today is her backstory is, she's going in one direction. She knows what she wants out of life, and she's pitched it in that road, and she's going to go and carry on going down there. And it wouldn't surprise me that, that you don't become some sort of genius that is talking on podcasts continuously and invited to go up continuously. Because one, you've got fantastic hair, your glasses are truly amazing. And I love the fact that even though it's 90 or something degrees out there, you've put a shirt on or a blouse, sorry, a blouse,
A
right?
blouse.
To
Thank
share
goodness. Thank
sometimes.
goodness I put my
Yeah,
shirt on.
and you've managed not to swig your a coffee the whole time
That's right.
you've been here. So I'll let you go and have your coffee. And guys and girls out there, thanks a lot. This is another episode of Private Access. Lots more to come.
Thank you, Daniel.